had to move to New York for school a couple years ago, it took me months to pack up my apartment. I spent hours sitting on my living room floor surrounded by boxes, shuffling through my belongings, feeling paralyzed and breathless. The same thing happened 3 years later when I moved home. Now the apartment I'm currently renting is in foreclosure. The thought alone makes my stomach flip. I'm afraid of moving because between the ages of 4 and 17, I moved 11 times. Each time we unpacked, we kept the boxes folded under our beds, knowing soon we would be packing them up again. My mother believed she'd been a gypsy in her past life, and she wore long, multicolored peasant skirts, sandals, and armfuls of bangles, even while loading a U-Haul. She said things like, "When I was a gitana in Romania, we didn't have trucks like these to move all our stuff. No, senor." My older sister Sonia and I followed behind Mom's jingling ankle bracelets, carrying what we could, leaving behind things we didn't want to carry, resigned to Mom's promises of bigger stuffed toys and nicer tea sets in our new house. We were always moving and never getting anywhere. Always starting over but never changing. We started on Euclid Avenue in an old white brick house that looked like a stone fort. It didn't belong in that neighborhood, and neither did we. Our neighbors were quiet. We were loud. The other homes on our block were tropical villas with bird baths and topiaries. Our front yard had no grass. In the backyard, my father and grandfather built a miniature wooden house for us. Grandpa wired it with working lights, and Mom decorated the windows with flowery curtains. They poured a concrete floor and tiled it in linoleum. Sonia and I must have spent more time in our casita than in our real house because I remember the aluminum toy stove, the gold shiny doorbell. But of the real house with our beds, parents, fights, I remember almost nothing. The day we moved, Sonia and I cried for hours about leaving our casita behind. Mom kept promising we were going back to get it. Eventually, we forgot or stopped believing her. Our next apartment was a one-bedroom where Mom befriended the girl next door, a pot-smoking bohemian named Jaja. They decided they were long-lost sisters in a past life and spent hours reading each other's palms. During the 7 months we spent in that apartment, Mom rearranged the furniture a dozen times. She and Jaja made macrame plant hangers and draped ivies over the window valances. They moved the couches, tried area rugs, brought in an old china cabinet someone down the street had thrown out, and loaded it full of whatever tchotchke my mom was obsessed with that week. Imitation hummels, porcelain geisha, harlequin masks. Then one trash pickup day, someone put an old zebra skin love seat out on the curb. Mom and Jaja dragged the thing into the apartment and devised an entire makeover around it, taking a staple gun and yards of animal print fabric to anything upholstered. Mom woke us up at dawn. "Let's go," she said while prodding us awake. "We gotta make it to the swap shop before all the good stuff is gone." At the flea market, we had a single mission. Remember, you're looking for anything with an animal on it. Then a few weeks later, after another fight between Mom and Dad, Sonia and I came home from school to find the makings of our safari-scape overflooding the green dumpster behind the building. The front door to our apartment was wide open, and there was Mom on all fours, hair in a sloppy ponytail, laying down black and white checkered tiles over the vinyl floor. Mom was 24, with 2 daughters, and unhappily married. She had to distract herself from the things in her life she couldn't change. She changed what she could: apartments, decorative themes, and husbands. Mom and Dad divorced. Carlos joined our caravan, and we moved 3, 4, 5 more times, then finally to a studio in Union City, New Jersey. That wasn't a joke. One night, Sonia and I woke there to the screams of our pregnant mother as she spotted a mouse wrestling to free itself from a glue trap. We ran to the bathroom and found Mom backed into a corner shrieking, "Where is it?" we asked. Then we saw it. Pathetic, small, and gray. It tensed and squirmed, trying to pull away, and all the while the fur on its right side stretched from its skin like taffy. We cried for her to let it go, but instead Mom called Carlos to get rid of it, and without a second's thought, he picked up the trap by a corner, walked to the open window, and flicked it out. Gaining her composure and flattening the curls of her perm black hair, Mom tried to calm us by asserting that it was preferable to be thrown out of a fourth-floor window than spend the rest of your life stuck in a single position, unable to move. We were stuck for work, money, winter clothes, but we could still move. So we rented out the attic of a house and lived there stored away for almost a year, tiptoeing down the stairs and through the foyer, careful not to wake the proper residents as we left for school each morning. When my brother Eddie was born, we moved to the second floor of a townhouse on Woodside Avenue, just down the street from Our Lady of Good Counsel, where Mom attended Catholic school as a girl. I asked Mom, "So this is your hometown where you grew up in?" Mom just shrugged. I don't think she knew what place to call home either. Mom left Cuba when she was 13, and exile to her never meant a new homeland, it just meant exile. After 9 months in that townhouse, we emigrated back to Miami. Then something happened. We moved into an apartment in Surfside and stayed there, stuck, for almost 5 years. But Mom couldn't contain the kinetic energy building up inside her. She continued to redecorate, retile, paint murals in every bedroom. And every weekend was a trip somewhere. Orlando, St. Augustine, the Keys. "What for?" we'd ask Mom. The shrug, "Just to go." All the moving meant that I also grew up in exile, domestic exile. We moved to avoid all the things settling down implied: a faithful marriage, stability, the hard work of normal living. Our family spun like a hurricane all over South Florida. It spit out old husbands and sucked in new ones, 6 to be exact. It moved over houses and left wreckage where our memories of home should have been. It spawned other, smaller tornadoes. Sonia got pregnant and married at 18. I dropped out of high school and left home at 17. Eddie was only 10, and Mom was pregnant again. These days, when I see my mother, the only thing in her life that hasn't changed is her. Divorced again and recently moved, she divides her time between trips to the local Goodwill and inconsolable crying. My mom is 55. I'm 31, and I'm still afraid of moving. I share an apartment with a roommate, and although I've been there long enough that I should have bought a bed, I sleep on a futon mattress on the floor. When I think of our casita in the backyard, it occurs to me now that it was built for us as an alternative home, a place to play at normal domesticity. I'm too old to keep playing house. I should just buy a place. I can afford a place. And I want a house with a shiny doorbell and flowery curtains. What's holding me back is that as much as I fear moving, I'm also equally afraid of being stuck.